Hello, good evening. There were three Labour leaders on stage this afternoon. The ghost of Jeremy Corbyn, now firmly interred by a man now turning his back on his left flank. The ghost of Tony Blair, who was perhaps, after decades, being rehabilitated as a template for good governance. And the corporeal body of Keir Starmer, who stood before his party in person for the first time since becoming leader and asked them to believe it was back in business. It was a speech from and for the centre ground. What it lacked in fizz, it made up for in length, but it allowed him to handle his hecklers with a few careful lines and the quiet resignation of a man trying to show the country what his day job can be like. He offered big thoughts on crime, rape convictions and the green economy, and familiar syntax on education and mental health. And he compared his seriousness of mission with what he called the trivial Boris Johnson. This needed to be a moment for Keir Starmer, a man who hasn't really made his mark on the public imagination thus far. And tonight we'll be asking if he got there. We begin with our political editor, Nick Watt. The Business Secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, has confirmed the government's reserve tanker fleet is now on the road delivering fuel. He's also warned that the petrol crisis could affect deliveries in many sectors in the lead up to Christmas. So tonight we ask what the knock-on effect of worker shortages will be and how many other industries and businesses could be hit in the crucial coming months. Here's Ben Chew. Ben Chew, well, the government has made attempts to get fuel delivered by the army to get the roads running again, but the shortage of drivers will hit businesses more widely. Across Europe and even America, COVID has left many sectors scrabbling to fill jobs. But here, the end of freedom of movement brought by the Brexit deal has meant that across the board, in care work, in hospitality, delivery and food production, the shortages are now felt more acutely. We're going to talk to Minette Batters, head of the National Farmers Union. What do you think the knock-on effect will be on farmers and on farms, Minette? Minette Batters, thank you very much. Thank you. Now, life at 50 degrees. We return to the places on the planet where global warming is creating the experience of a 50-degree temperature. The number of these extremely hot days every year has doubled since 1980. 40 years ago, it was only really seen in the hottest deserts on Earth, but it's now appearing with terrifying regularity in more populated areas as traditional ways of life have become increasingly difficult. BBC News Arabic has been documenting the struggle of communities against the rising heat, both in the developed and the developing world. Tonight, we're just across the US border into Mexico, where the water from the Colorado River used to keep communities alive. So what happens when that water dries up or is used up by their wealthy northern neighbours?
Massive challenges that our country is facing.
Can I just ask you about that? Do you really think it was missing substance? Because it was really long and he did talk about a lot of things. I'm surprised to hear you say it was lacking substance.
I think it was a real achievement.
Quite interesting, Robert, to look at the way that the Johnson government got to power by cutting off the moderate wing over Brexit, the Rory Stewarts and the David Gauks and all the rest of it on the outside. I mean, is that going to work for Starmer? So, Steve, let me just bring in Stephen. So he definitely was putting the Corbyn era behind him. He was definitely trying to put the worst election result, since 1935 behind him. The question is, we always come at that analogy of the aeroplane and the two wings. Has
this conference made that harder to achieve?
We're out of time, but thank you all very much indeed. That is all from us for tonight. Back tomorrow. See you then. Bye-bye.